High risk, high reward. That pretty much describes the world of venture capital. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the most important coverage or policy that VC firms and their partners need to protect their personal assets from the various legal challenges and potential claims they can face. That policy is the D&O plus E&O policy that combines directors and officers liability insurance with errors and omissions liability insurance into one policy form built specifically for venture capital firms. Often, these policies will have trade names like VCap or Venture Capital Asset Protector or an asset manager's policy. But at their core, these policies are all very similar to one another and represent the most important policy in a VC's insurance portfolio. Hi, I'm Gordon Coyle. Welcome to my channel where we talk about the risk and insurance issues on the minds of business owners. As an expert business insurance broker, these videos are intended to help guide and educate decision makers to help you be a more informed insurance buyer. If I don't answer the question on your mind that actually brought you to this video, reach out and let's connect. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so let's talk about management and professional liability insurance for venture capital. Management liability is a broad term encompassing D&O or directors and officers, but it'll also include EPLI or employment practice liability insurance. By the way, do you get the sense that the insurance industry wants to just confuse everyone with multiple names and acronyms for everything? Anyway, I'm including employment practice coverage in this discussion since it is an important element of broadening the protection and can be effectively added to this policy. More about that in just a minute. So what are the primary risks associated with the management and professional liability for VCs? In my mind, there are three primary risk drivers for venture capital that need to be addressed. The first is portfolio risk. With your investments into a portfolio company, you will typically require one or more board seats for your partners or employees. Lawsuits that may allege wrongful act or wrongdoing at the portfolio level should be covered by that portco's D&O insurance. But in order to more fully insulate you and your partners from risk, your management policy should provide them belt and suspenders protection. Keep in mind that management-type lawsuits often name individual leaders personally for their acts. I often say that D&O insurance is really personal net worth insurance for your leadership team. The second thing to talk about is operational risk. This is where the E&O or professional liability is most critical to protecting your firm and partners from errors made in the delivery of your professional services. Another key risk, operationally speaking, is with employees. As you scale and where your EPLI coverage steps in to address claims for wrongful employment acts such as discrimination, harassment, hostile work environment, or wrongful termination. Finally, number three is investor risk. This is where challenges from LPs on your strategy and decisions can result in lawsuits. Whether those investors are institutional or high net worth families, when you don't deliver, lawsuits can arise. So I often get asked, how much coverage is enough? And that's a good question. Typically, we see startups purchase between $1 and $3 million in limit, and as the fund and portfolio grows, limits are increased. Determining the limits of protection down the road is usually arrived at by using two variables. The first is analytical, and it's by using benchmarking reports, which is essentially a comparison of what your peer group by AUM is purchasing most frequently. We can provide you insights into benchmarking. The second is more of a gut check, and that is, what does your budget support? Yeah, it would be nice to have $10 million limits of protection, but if you can't afford it, it may not be feasible. But using benchmarking data does help give you something to shoot towards. So what does it cost? The factors that will influence the cost of the D&O and E&O policy will be your assets under management, the profile of your portfolio, meaning the types of firms you invest in, your geography, your history, your experience, the limits and deductibles you choose, and any claim history if you've had claims. Generally speaking, startup VCs and smaller funds are going to be looking at the premiums ballpark in the $10,000 to $15,000 a year range for $1 million of coverage, and it'll scale up from there as your AUM and limits grow. Finally, how do you get this important coverage? If you do a search online for VC insurance, you're going to be faced with two predominant options. The first is typically a website where you can input your information and it can turn out a quote and bind a policy in like 5 minutes with little to no human interaction. The second way is going to be working with a skilled broker like the Coyle Group, who will take time to understand your unique situation and work with you to get you protected. There are pros and cons with going with direct or using a broker like myself. The 5-minute quote to bind process is great, but you're likely getting just one choice in terms of pricing, and it may not be clear the quality of the insurance company that's underwriting your policy. You're also not getting a lot of expert advice or guidance, and the after-sales service process may be humanless as well, or a call center type level of service. The broker process, I'll admit, is going to take longer, and you'll probably need to fill out more forms and answer more questions. But in the case of working with the Coyle Group, your submission will also be seen by a dozen underwriters who will offer their best terms, so you're getting choice, the best choice and the best pricing options that are available. You're also getting an expert's opinion on what to do and how to do it, and we're able to help you with more than just this policy. We can also help with your business owner's policy, your cyber, workers' comp, and other coverages. Our strongest selling point is that your account is managed by a professional account manager who you can build a relationship with and call for help. Here's the bottom line. D&O and E&O protects you, your partners, and the firm from potentially devastating lawsuits. You want to be sure you're making the best purchase possible and have an advocate in your corner when things go sideways. And that's what we do here at the Coyle Group. And if you'd like to learn more, then reach out. My contact info is in the description box below. Call me, email me, or set up a time on my calendar for a chat. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful.